life, wisdom.
So I went shopping. And today on the mystery grocery bag, I'm going to reveal what's in my grocery bag. And the theme here is foods that people think are healthy but really aren't. Or maybe foods that claim to be healthy on the packaging but really aren't. So realize that food manufacturers have one objective, and that is to sell you their product. And they're gonna put things on the label that are gonna make you think that they're healthy. And these misleading labels have gotten a lot of us in trouble. So today I'm gonna give you the secrets that you can use to avoid these toxic foods disguised as healthy foods and show you what's in my mystery grocery bag. So let's get started. Alrighty, the first thing is a loaf of bread. And as you can see, it got squished by all the other stuff in my bag because that's what happens to this kind of bread, right? So let's just turn this over and take a little look at the ingredient list. So as you can see, just glancing at this ingredient list, it's really long. We've got really tiny print, right? And we've got high fructose corn syrup, we've got enriched flour, we have soybean oil. And since most of the soy produced in the United States is GMO, it's probably safe to assume that this is GMO soybean oil. It also has, yeast, dough conditioners, which could be sodium stearoyl lactylate. It's got a whole list of different chemicals that could be contained in here. And one of the cool things that they say about bread like this is that you can see, how much nutrition is really contained in the bread by squishing all of the air out of it and seeing what's left, right? So we started with this big loaf of bread, and when we squish out all of the air, this is what's left. It's not very much food, right? So when I talk about processed foods being partial foods, this is a really good example of that, right? Because clearly there's not as much in this as it seemed when it was all stretched out in a real big loaf of bread. I've talked before about the problems with enriched wheat flour. So you take a whole wheat grain, you strip out some of the parts, and then you just have part of it. And that's really the essence of a partial or processed food. So this is really highly processed. Of course, the high fructose corn syrup is something we definitely want to avoid. And now I want to show you what I would consider at least a step up in terms of alternatives. So here we have, this is 100% whole wheat, and you'll actually see that the label says no high fructose corn syrup. And this is interesting because a couple of years ago when I went to the grocery store, I read every single loaf of bread and every single one of them contained high fructose corn syrup. So this is actually showing maybe a step in the right direction, that consumers are getting more informed and the food manufacturers are realizing that, hey, we got to take the high fructose corn syrup out of our foods. So with this one, I just want to illustrate that it's a much shorter ingredient list. It doesn't have nearly as much stuff in it as this other loaf of bread did. And looking at these ingredients, we can realize that, well, there's still some questionable things in here. It has soy lecithin in it. Again, the soy is probably GMO. So this isn't really the best option, but it's definitely a step up from this guy. And these were pretty similar in price. So that is our first thing, talking about bread. Minimally processed grains are gonna be your best bet if you do wanna get grains in your diet. If you'd like more information, we have several videos on that topic. So let's just keep moving right along here. So next up, we have a healthy choice microwave meal. And it says healthy right there on the label. So it has to be healthy, right? Okay, well, let's see. So we flip it over. Well, they didn't have room for the ingredients there, so they actually chose to use the entire end of this box as the ingredient list. And what I really want to drive home in this video is that you don't need to get out a magnifying glass and read every single thing on here and put it in the computer to look up what it is. You should just be able to glance at an ingredient label like this and realize, well, this is a really highly processed food and that's got a lot of weird chemicals in it. Probably safer to just avoid it completely. So some of the ingredients we've got in here, maltodextrin, modified cornstarch, corn oil, all of these different modified corn products. There's several of them listed on this label. And again, we can remember that, well, corn and soy are most commonly GMO foods. So again, we got GMOs right here. We've got all kinds of processed wheat again. And just in general, we've got caramel colors. We've got artificial colors in here as well. So this is just something that, like I said, just looking at the label, you can see, hey, you know what? That's probably not a healthy choice. And just to compare it, right? I just want to give you something to compare it. So here we've got a tortellini kind of thing. So here's a similar shells and cheese kind of a thing. But if we look at this ingredient label, we can really see, here I can kind of hold them up like this. We can really see how different these ingredient labels are. So just the size of the print, number one, but then also looking at this Amy's one, we've got broccoli, cheese, tomato puree, low-fat milk, spinach, onions. None of these are weird, crazy ingredients like maltodextrin or sodium stearyl lactylate. So this would be an indication that, well, at least this is not as processed as one of these other microwave dinners. And just to improve it a little bit from there, you can actually take these and rather than heating them up in a microwave, you can take them out of their package and you can actually dump, usually it'll just come right out, right? And you can dump it into like an oven safe bowl or pan and actually heat it up in a toaster oven or in a regular oven. So then you're avoiding the radiation that you get when you heat something up in a microwave. So next up is this Smart Start cereal. And unlike some of the other cereals out there, which are clearly a kiddie cereal with tons and tons and tons of sugar, this one is claiming that it is a smart start to your day, a healthy start to your day. It has fiber, it has whole grain, has the word antioxidant on it, which people associate with being healthy because antioxidants are healthy. But let's just take a little gander at this nutrition list. And interestingly, this nutrition list is actually somewhat short compared to some of the other ingredient lists on some of the other cereals. So this one is actually short enough we can actually read what these things are. But when we do read them, what do we find out? Well, we've got whole grain wheat, rice, sugar is the third ingredient. That right there should be a red flag. We've also got flour, honey, corn syrup, brown sugar syrup, polydextrose, which is another way that they process sugar to create another sweet chemical, malt flavor, which who knows what that really is, canola oil, which we know is likely GMO, yellow number 5, artificial flavor, soy lecithin, which is also GMO, and BHT for freshness. So my comments on this would be that several of these chemicals, the colors and stuff like that, are actually banned in several different countries. Like literally, if you bought this product in another country, it would have different ingredients in it. So they might sell the same product, but if you turn it over, actually it wouldn't contain the artificial sweeteners, or it wouldn't contain the corn syrup, for instance. Another note is about this BHT for freshness. So BHT, that sounds really natural. Well, actually, it's butylated hydroxyquinone. And it is known in the scientific studies, you can find this out on Wikipedia, that it's known to be associated with cancer and DNA damage, and it's cytotoxic, which means it's toxic to your cells. Which who wants that, right? But they put it in here to keep it fresh. And again, something like artificial flavor, right? Where they don't even tell you what the chemical is. they just give you a nice little blanket term like artificial flavor, and even the word natural flavor. That doesn't mean that it's natural. They can get a natural flavor from just about anything, any animal, any plant, any processing method. So actually, you know, well, I'll get more into natural flavorings later, but what I want to do is just point out that, okay, so the serving size of this on this label is 1 cup. And in that 1 cup, we've got 14 grams of sugar and 44 grams of carbs. But what I want to illustrate to you is that most people don't just eat 1 cup of cereal. So I just want to show you what 1 cup of cereal looks like. Not doing a very good job here. You can see it's been a while since I've eaten boxed cereal. This is how much cereal you get to eat if you eat what's on the serving size. That's not very much cereal. And I remember as a kid telling my mom, I don't want to eat cereal. It just makes me feel hungrier. And now I actually understand why that is. So when we're talking about our blood sugar, we'll hear the word glycemic, or something is high on the glycemic index. And I'm actually going to do another video where I'm going to try to explain that a little more deeply. But basically what it means is, how much does this food spike your blood sugar up and make your blood sugar raise really high? And actually, these processed cereal products with tons of sugar and processed wheat are more high glycemic than sugar, which means it's actually going to spike your blood sugar up even higher than sugar. And what happens when you spike something up really high? It falls down. So once that blood sugar spike starts to plummet, that's when you start feeling hungry again. And we'll just kind of see, well, how much cereal is, you know, chances are most people probably are eating like 3 cups of cereal. This is what 3 cups, so if you ate 3 cups of cereal, you would be getting, like 42 grams of sugar, and that's more than a Hershey bar. I mean, we're talking like your bowl of cereal, you might as well have just eaten a candy bar. That's not freaking cool, right? Okay, so while we're on the subject of breakfast, I also want to touch on this instant oatmeal. And again, we can look at this ingredient label, and we have the classic characteristics of really, really tiny font that you can't even read, which right in itself is kind of a red flag. But this guy actually contains aspartame, which is an artificial sweetener, another chemical which is banned in several different countries. Artificial sweeteners are known to have neurotoxic damage, which means toxic damage to your brain. Not to mention they are really, really harmful for people who are trying to manage their blood sugar, or maybe they're diabetic or they're taking insulin. So that is a huge red flag. We've also got maltodextrin, which is another great, just classic food chemical. I think it's contained in all of the foods that I've listed so far. Not to mention all of the health effects they don't even know about yet, because it's only been in our food system for a couple of years. And really and truly, as I'm looking at all of these really long ingredient lists, I feel like a freaking lab rat. Because there's no way, with all of these hundreds of different food additives and food chemicals out there, that they've actually been able to test every single one for safety in every different type of person who may be eating it. And you'll also notice on these labels, it'll say less than 2% of, and then it has this whole list of things. And that's because the FDA has put out a regulation saying, okay, it's only safe up to this level of like 0.2%. But what's funny is that if every single food you're eating contains less than 2% of these harmful chemicals, and you eat them every day, well, then these scientists have no way of knowing how much we're actually being exposed to of those chemicals, right? Not to mention the combination of all the different chemicals, etc. So, lab rat central right here. And what I want to compare it to, you can see I've been eating this, but this is a really awesome kind of alternative, right, to the instant oatmeal. So this is Bob's Red Mill. It's a hot cereal, and it's actually wheatless, which is kind of cool. But if we turn it over and look at its ingredients, it's got probably less than 10 whole grain oats, brown rice, corn, soybeans, millet, sorghum, oat bran, sunflower seeds, and flax seeds. There's no weird chemical names, not a single one. Every single one of those is an actual food that you could actually go to, Google Images and look up a picture of what that food looks like. So we can get the difference between a partial processed food filled with chemicals and a natural food, right? That's a lot less processed and is going to be a lot easier on our body. And this was on sale for $1.99 at the grocery store that I go to. But this is a really kind of cool alternative. And it's great because you can flavor this to your liking. So you could just add berries or a little bit of honey or a little bit of maple syrup. You have a lot of freedom to really play with how this food is going to taste. Okay, so staying on the subject of breakfast just for a second, we have Yoplait Light, which looks really freaking healthy, right? And we typically think of yogurt as being a healthy thing. So Karina, why are you ragging on my Yoplait? What's wrong with it? Well, let's just turn it over and take a little look at these ingredients. So again, the one that really jumps out at me is the aspartame. Again, we've got another artificial sweetener in this food that is being sold, when it has the word light on it, it's supposed to make us feel like it's healthier, right? It's going to be better for us. Well, the aspartame is not something that's better for us. And even with the aspartame, you've still got 10 grams of sugar in this little guy. We've also got gelatin. We've got modified cornstarch, another all-star food chemical, which I think is in all of these different foods. And again, modified cornstarch, if corn is one of the most commonly GMO crops, well, then this is probably GMO corn that's found in this yogurt. And it also has red number 40. Again, we're back to artificial colors, which are actually banned in many different countries. Artificial colors have been associated with significant behavioral issues in children. I've actually known personally people who take their kids off of artificial colors and all of their behavioral issues and what seemed to be learning disabilities or something like that just vanished just by taking artificial colors and sugar out of the diet. So what does that say about how healthy it is? And then again, so just to show you a comparison, right? Here is another little yogurt. And it's kind of cool because here we've got the ingredients. It's got a pretty short little ingredient list there, which is nice. But then it also has this little thing where it kind of says, this milk is from grass-fed cows, no high fructose corn syrup, low in sugar. And, just glancing at these ingredients, there's no weird chemical names in there, and there's certainly no artificial colors. And again, these were really pretty comparable in price, so you can't really use that as an excuse. So I have a couple things left. One of them is a meat product, and one of them is a vegetarian substitute marketed to be healthy, right? Hey, this is a vegetarian alternative to meat. So I'm gonna get to that one in a second, but I'm gonna start with these little turkey sausage snacks. And typically we think of turkey as being healthy because it's a lean meat. It's actually really, really high in protein. But if we turn this ingredient label over, actually looking at the nutrition facts, we can see that, well, there's, 4 grams of protein, but there is 3 grams of fat. So that means 75% of this is actually fat. So what we thought was going to be healthy, oh, it's turkey, it's low in fat. No, actually, this is about 75% fat. So that's probably, kind of discounts what was healthy about the turkey. And again, also we have chemicals like carrageenan, we have sodium nitrate, which we have known for a while now that processed meats containing sodium nitrate and nitrite aren't good for us. Mechanically separated turkey. You want to know what a mechanically separated turkey looks like? I mean, talk about a highly processed food. This is what I would consider a junk food. And again, it makes this kind of claims on the front, gluten-free, no MSG added, kind of making you think that this is a healthy snack, but this is marketing. They're trying to market to you All they want is your money. They don't care about your health. Okay. So now we've got the vegetarian veggie chicken wings or chicken nuggets. Chicken. Without the E in the end. It's like chickna nuggets, all right? So we've got these chickna nuggets. And again, okay, so here's our ingredient label right here. And again, we've got this red flag of like tons of ingredients, super itty bitty tiny font that you practically need a magnifying glass to even read. And actually within these healthy vegetarian alternative to meat, we've got autolyzed yeast extract, which is another name for MSG. There's actually another food here that also had MSG in it that I forgot to mention, but I think I ragged on them hard enough. We've got maltodextrin. We've got a lot of artificial flavors. Of course, soybean oil, hydrolyzed soybean, soy protein. So again, these are GMOs and they're MSG. So this is kind of like the ultimate offender. And the saddest thing is that people will buy this product thinking that it's healthy, thinking that it's a healthy alternative. And that's exactly what they want us to think, looking at the front of this label. But you're smarter than that, right? You're not gonna fall for it. Another thing that we can notice on here is that there's 9 grams of fat in 4 chickna nuggets. Right? So that's a lot of fat, and chances are you're not gonna just eat 4 of these, right? And I don't have an alternative to this one because your alternative is to eat a freaking vegetable like a zucchini or a squash or a carrot or an onion. There's tons and tons and tons of different vegetables out there that's gonna be a really awesome vegetarian alternative to meat, and is not gonna contain all these crazy toxic, chemicals. So thank you so much for joining me today for Karina's Mystery Grocery Bag. And join me again next time where I'm going to cover beverages. The beverages that we think are healthy or that claim to be healthy on the label, and also offering you good, healthy alternatives to those beverages. So if you'd like to learn more about me and my health coaching practice, you can visit karinarachel.com. Please be sure to subscribe to the Psyche Truth channel so you can see all of our future videos, and leave me a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are on any of these foods. If I bashed one of the foods that's your favorite foods, let me know. And if you're wondering about some other alternatives to maybe one of the foods I've mentioned, then leave me a comment with that and I'll actually get back to you and let you know what a healthy alternative would be. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.